Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Purple Noon, a podcast. My name is Stephanie Conti, and I am here with the Angelica Houston to my Jack Nicholson, Savanna Lanausse.
Hi, I don't know if I like that reference because he did her dirty 1,000 times, but I'm gonna still take it because I know
Angelica
it's a
Houston was
compliment.
in her prime, stunning woman. So that
No,
I mean nothing but a compliment.
I just meant the relationship was not good, and I love you. So.
Well, I was gonna, with the movie that we're gonna be talking about, I was gonna reference that, but the main female character doesn't have a name, so I wasn't gonna go Jack Nicholson and girl, which is literally the name of the character on IMDb.
That's it.
Angelica Houston was sufficient. So,
I like her.
How are you doing? How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good.
Did you get any Dunky? Any Starbucks?
I got Dunkin'. It's just my thing. It's, guys, the caramel crazed iced latte. Still good.
I made a very rash decision this morning. I got a notification from Uber Eats, and it was like, hey, Starbucks is free delivery. And then they also were like, hey, by the way, that Uber Eats pass is you can get a month free and you can cancel it before we bill you. So I was like, so let me give it a shot. Why not? So what did I do? I ordered 4 Starbucks drinks, not to consume all in one day, but because why not? I mean, if I hit $10, they were going to charge me $3 for nothing. If I hit $15, I could have had another drink and just pay for the tip. So yeah. I bought 4 drinks and 2 of them were in my fridge. And did I have 2 today? Yes, because I had a coffee and a tea.
You know what? That sounds great. I think that's a great plan. And now you have drinks for the next day or 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not happy that I paid $17 for Starbucks when I'm not working. But it is what it is. You know what I mean?
But it's a necessity. It is. If we're going to be completely honest. We need our coffee or drinks. If not, we'd just be dead.
Oh,
we're doing 3 movies a week, people.
We'd be boring as hell. We'd be like, oh, yes, we're going to be talking about Jack Nicholson today. We'd sound like C-SPAN.
Dude, we do... Guys, we do 3 movies a week, so we need our caffeine, clearly.
Yeah, and we do some studying, and we're about to start school next month. So yeah, it'll slowly transition from coffees to then Coke Energy, because that is the best. If you want to just get up and go and shoot to the moon and not be exhausted, Coke Energy. Not sponsored by Coke, but it absolutely could be. Think about it.
I love the Coke with the, what is it, cane sugar? It's the green bottle.
Yes, the little I got you hooked on that. The little stevia sweetened one.
It's the best
Coke Life.
It's the best. It's my favorite. Stephanie, so last Christmas, I think it was my birthday. My birthday's around Christmas. So we were having a little Christmas party and we were getting stuff and Stephanie sees, I get the stevia Coke and Stephanie's like, oh, what's this? It's a cinnamon Coke. And I'm like, that's going to be disgusting. And she's like, nah, I'm going to try it. So she buys this whole thing of cinnamon Coke and it actually turns out to be pretty good.
Because I had my fingers crossed because there is this post-Soviet USSR cola called Nicole Cola. And I think it's made in America, but it's when you look at it, you're like, oh, Soviet vibes. So I bought it once at a world market and it has been my favorite soda ever since. And the only way I can buy it now is if I go on Amazon or eBay and I have to buy it a case of 30 for $50. And as much as I love that soda, I can't bring myself to that point. So because it's a cinnamon flavored Coke. And so when they were Coke Cinnamon limited edition, you bet every time I went to the store and saw Coke Cinnamon on the shelf, I grabbed it. I hightailed out of every place with just mounds and mounds of cinnamon Coke because that will be and always will be the best Coke to ever come out. This orange creamsicle garbage? What is this?
That tastes like soap.
It's very weird. It's very weird. It feels like it does taste like a creamsicle, but it tastes like someone took my creamsicle and dunked it in Coke and I'm not happy about it.
Dude, but Is the cinnamon Coke superior to vanilla Coke? Because vanilla Coke hits so well.
You know what? Coca-Cola, if you're listening, even Pepsi, get on this. Get on the rivalry before any of this stuff, like before Coke gets it. Do a cinnamon vanilla Coke. That is it. That is key. It's going to taste like a soda pop version of a White Russian, and you'll thank me.
I feel like it'll taste like an ice cream float or something. That's what I'm getting. That's the vibe I'm getting from what you said.
Oof. Yeah, like a nice cinnamon vanilla Coke. Tastes like Christmas, but all year round. Get on it, Coke.
They'll probably release it around Christmas, because on Christmas they do release like new things, I feel like.
And look, Coke, if you want to take my idea, go ahead. I just got some credit card debt. It'll cost you nothing. Just wipe it off under the table. You know what I mean? So yeah,
hey.
Cinnamon Coke and vanilla Coke hits. Next time, if I can get my hands on like some cinnamon Coke or something like cinnamon Coke, you bet your butt I'm going to take some vanilla Coke, mix it together, and I'm going to have a moment. An intense life moment, and I will let you know what that experience is like.
I don't doubt your judgment. You were right about the cinnamon Coke. It was pretty. It was good. It was good.
Everyone judges my flavor palette too often. Everyone's like, "No, Stephanie, that's gonna be weird," and I'm like, "Put it in your mouth and try it." Whether it's food, ice creams, weird things I buy off the internet, no one believes me and then they're like, "Oh my god, it actually was really good." It's like, listen to me. I don't like the conventional stuff. So. Enough with the Coke discussion. We can't be leaking out our secrets like this.
So, hey, Savannah, we're telling everybody our biggest fear. We can't do that because, we're going to get it in a box or something.
Watch next episode. I'm going to be like, Savannah, what's your biggest fear? Like, I'm just going to hit you with it one day. And you're going to be here live recording and be like,
I'll lie, because one of my biggest fears is I say it on the internet and somebody sends it to me in a box. I can't have that.
Yeah. Okay.
It will never be revealed.
Say what it is. I was going to say what it is, but I know one particular person who would listen to this and would make that happen. So for the sake of that, I'm not going to let it happen. Let's talk Jack Nicholson real quick. I wanted to talk about, because I really love Jack Nicholson as an actor. And before we talk about this movie that stars him in it, I wanted to know what your favorite Jack Nicholson film is.
Okay, so two come to mind. One of them's weird. One of them's controversial because not everybody thinks it's a good movie. But I still want to say it because I remember sort of seeing scenes of it as a kid and then watching a good amount of it later in life. So the first one is a very, very common, very whatever. I don't necessarily like the film. It's not one of my favorites, but in performance-wise, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I thought
everyone praises that movie, though.
I don't like the movie. I don't think the movie itself is anything profound, but I like his performance in the movie, if that makes sense.
That's fair. Obviously, I like his staples, like The Shining and stuff, but I'd have to say, just for the sake of like a beautiful on-screen duo, is the film The Missouri Breaks.
I was going to say that. That was the one I was going to say. Yeah,
Missouri Breaks with Brando and Nicholson.
Like the Western. I saw it when I was younger, and it's by no means like a really great film or anything like that. But I always thought it was like, yeah.
It's a cinematic, it's just the duo we've always wanted. Not the movie we needed, but the movie we always wanted. I mean, Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando. Like, ooh, if I could be a director in the 70s, man, they would be like I would have them be the, blah, 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 who am I thinking of? Paul Newman and Easy Rider, that type of whole duo. I would make them a big duo back in the 70s if I could have.
I'm surprised they weren't in another film together. Because they were like, at the time, especially Jack Nicholson was like on fire. That was like sort of his prime. But
yeah, Jack Nicholson, like the 70s were it for Jack Nicholson. Not only did he come out with the movie that, that we're going to be talking about, but I think that was the same year as One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And then like a few years later, he did Shining. Like all of his like staple films came out in the 70s. So it was a good decade for him.
I also like him in The Departed. If we're talking an older Jack Nicholson, I think he did a good job in The Departed with Leo.
I'd say that. I don't know. I think I like... I mean, I really just like The Shining, but I have seen him in like Tommy. My dad is obsessed with The Who, and he's in Tommy. Like, I like more of his obscure appearances.
Well, I mean, Jack Torrance is iconic. Like,
Iconic.
He'll forever be known for that. How do you feel about Chinatown?
Oh my God, I love Chinatown. How could I forget? That would actually... Missouri Breaks and Chinatown would be tied.
I like Chinatown. I don't like who directed it, but can't support that. But Faye Dunaway and Jack Nicholson were great. The story is just weird, but it's good, and the ending is depressing. So good.
The ending. I was watching that movie alone, and I stood up on my feet and started clapping at the ending. But guess what? This is not a review of Chinatown. No, so we'll have to save all that for another time.
Yeah, very true.
So, are you ready to get into The Passenger? No, not Passengers, with Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt. I never saw that movie, but it didn't vibe well with me. We're talking about The Passenger. Was it okay?
It was okay. Yeah, it was a decent movie, but nothing that we're going to talk about.
So we are going to talk about The Passenger, 1975. And what it's about is a frustrated war correspondent, unable to find the war he's been asked to cover, takes the risky path of co-opting the identity of a dead arms dealer. Yes, a dead arms dealer. I don't know why I was going to say something more after that. It's directed by an Italian great, Michaelangelo Antonioni. And it's got some interesting Rikers. Mark Peplow is one of them. And the two main on-screen stars are Jack Nicholson and Maria Schneider. So, Savanna, before we get into all the spoilery bits, what did you think about The Passenger?
I was a little disappointed. It was not a bad film. It was good. I love the premise. I love the idea of what was going on. I like some of the scenery was beautiful. Jack Nicholson did a fair job, in my opinion. I like some of the transitions in the movie, and we can get into that later. And I thought they were very well done. Scenery is beautiful. Cinematography is beautiful. It was just missing a lot for me. I feel like there were a good amount of sometimes plot holes in the film. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we'll get into that in a minute. But the love interest, Maria Schneider, it wasn't her best. And we'll get into why we feel that way. Again, I was just disappointed because I didn't feel like the movie had it, and it could have had it. It could have had that one thing about it that was awesome. Just kind of it was on the same wavelength as we were actually talking about it before we started the podcast. It could have been something like Purple Noon. It could have been something really, really cool, but it kind of, in my opinion, did fall flat.
I can see that. I can definitely see that.
One other thing I didn't really care for is that it didn't have a lot of music. I don't even think it had any music.
Mm-mm.
And I think it could have benefited with at least a little bit. Not a bad film. Just, I guess, more on the disappointing side for me. What did you think?
I completely agree. And this is, so yesterday, yesterday we reviewed Five Against the House. And this is this kind of feels like a deja vu review, meaning not everything we're going to be talking about the same, but at the end of the day, this film had so much potential. And I even think this film had an enormous amount more potential than Five Against the House did.
Yeah.
And I'll get into it because I wrote something. And this was one of those movies where I was like, this is not a bad film. It's just misplaced. I don't think it should have gone because this was, I believed it was based off a book. I think it could have gone to a different writer, and I think it could have gone to a different director. I like the writer and director's work. I believe his name is I can't remember his last name real quick. Peplo. I like Peplo's work. I've he's done a lot of good works. He's actually the brother-in-law of Bernardo Bertolucci. So
wow.
And I can kind of see that influence on this film. Not only, and I was just telling Savanna earlier, like, I love Last Tango in Paris. The posters are identical. The poster of the passenger and stuff, and not just Maria Schneider, but the font. Yeah. Everything just kind of feels like some type of weird redo of Last Tango in Paris. But I definitely think there was a lot of potential. And we're never going to bash on a movie. I don't think it's fair to ever bash on a movie, because at the end of the day, there are hundreds of people behind a movie. And just because a director, an actor, or a writer didn't, exceed or do well, that doesn't mean several other people didn't put their hearts into the film. So that's why I personally don't like bashing. It's not the best film from this director, but we do have criticism that is useful. It's not negative. It's not to bash. It's not to, make anyone feel bad or to get fired from their job, even though I think the only person hanging around is Jack Nicholson. I just like to clarify this, because even though it wasn't the best, there are things that we're going to talk about that I think not only can people listen to and kind of learn from, and I am no way saying that this is like educational, but I think it's just more open-mindedness, if that makes sense. Am I making sense, Savanna? I think I am, but maybe I'm not.
Yeah, we're not here to tell you this film is crap, basically. And there's a lot of, I think we'll go through them. There's a lot of positive things that me and Stephanie enjoyed about the movie, and that we could see, at least I could see why it's in the Criterion Channel.
Yes. Yeah, so, I don't think it's in the Criterion itself. I believe it's just on the channel, and it does leave May 30th. May 31st it leaves the Criterion Channel, but I'm sure you can still rent it and find it anywhere else.
Right.
But yeah, it does have a great amount of potential. I don't think it's a bad film. I think if you want to watch it, go ahead, but it is slow. It's interesting.
It's a slow burn.
A very slow burn. But it is interesting, and there is a sense of care from Michaelangelo and Antonioni in terms of directing and the way the picture looks, and it is a beautiful picture. Right. But there are things that it falls through. So now let's get into the meat of this thing. Let's talk about the spoilers and let's talk first about characters. What did you think about Jack Nicholson's character, and what did you think about Maria Schneider's character?
So I think Jack Nicholson and Maria Schneider did the best they could do with what they were giving. Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily think I don't want to criticize their acting, because I feel like I said, I think whatever they were giving, the dialogue, they did the best that they could do. I like Jack Nicholson's character. I thought he was fascinating, but I didn't understand him. I
agree. I like their on-screen chemistry. Yeah. And that was one of the things that drew me into this film. And the reason why I picked this as my pick, because I was like, I've never seen Maria Schneider in anything else aside from Last Tango in Paris. So I wanted to see more of what she offered. And the idea of her with Nicholson, I thought if she could have done so well with Brando, she could have done well with Nicholson. And it did work. I liked their on-screen chemistry. But in my opinion, and I agree with you, they weren't given enough to make it raw, to make it real, and to make it more interesting.
It wasn't enough to make it their own. Like Maria Schneider in Last Tango in Paris, just, you believed everything. She was amazing, fantastic, so much liveliness from the character. You felt like you knew this girl. And unfortunately with this movie, they didn't give her a lot to base her character on. And even Jack Nicholson, to an extent, I don't know about you, maybe you can explain a little bit better, but I didn't really understand his motives besides he wants to get away from all this, on why he's particularly running away.
I struggled with that too. Okay. No, I struggled with it. And I even wrote, I was like, I don't know what the motive is. And I can't wait to dive further into the story. But in terms of Jack Nicholson, so one of the things I really like Maria Schneider, I like to say, from not only Last Tango in Paris, is because not only is she beautiful, she has something about her that is just very alluring, in my opinion. But from what her role in Last Tango in Paris and her role in this, it doesn't feel like she's acting. It feels like she's more emulating. And I like her for that. It kind of just, it doesn't feel off kilter from who she actually is. But it's also like kind of her being her, but putting on a different face is what I mean by emulating. But that still adds such a great, big, realistic effect to her performance. And even in this film, with what she was given, you have a legendary actor, Jack Nicholson, in this film. And as much as like Maria Schneider had a lot of potential that could have been shown, Jack Nicholson we already knew Jack Nicholson was already established. I'm pretty sure he did Chinatown before doing this film. And it just feels like any actor could have replaced him in this film, which sucks because we know if he was given more, he could have really made this film his own.
And I that's totally true. Like in the 70s, that's his prime. We were just saying that's sort of like when he blew up. That was, he was a big star then. Like the fact that like you have someone like Jack Nicholson, such a fantastic actor in this movie, and you kind of just sit back and you're just like, oh, there was nothing really special about it. Like that is such a waste. And even Maria Schneider to an extent, because she was like, what, 19 when she did Last Tango? 18 or 19? I know she
was young.
She was like a teenager. So like she also like the potential for her to do so well in this movie was there. Like she did amazing in that movie. And I'm sure if they gave her the right tools, she could have done amazing in this movie. So it is definitely kind of a waste. And it sucks to say that because they're great.
Her career was very short too. Like I was telling Savanna about it. Maria got very flustered, and sadly Maria did pass away a few years ago. But Maria got very overwhelmed with the sense that after Last Tango in Paris, everyone just kind of viewed her as this, little sex kitten that if they wanted to show skin in the movie, they could just throw her in there. And it ended up being so her last like major film in like the 70s, she was supposed to be in Caligula. And that is when she just completely left the set and she dropped out of the project. And I could totally understand and see that because after doing a film like Last Tango in Paris, even in this movie, they kind of just, even though she had so much potential, it just feels like they kind of just use her as a pretty face when I thought she was extremely way more above than just a pretty face and a pretty body. So I thought, in just general, Maria Schneider deserved so much more out of her acting career. So much more. Because I really did think, just based off her performance in Last Tango in Paris, she was an immaculate actor. And I think she could have been someone like who we talk about today with like a successful career, like Meryl Streep, or, some type of like she could have been like a Bridget Bardot or something like that. But she wasn't given a fair shot, in my opinion, for just a lot of male directors wanting to just use her for her body.
Which is very sad, Definitely very sad. Definitely a waste.
Let's see. Okay. Let's get into the story. I have issues with this story because I don't understand even after, going back and rewatching some scenes, I don't understand Jack Nicholson's motive. I don't understand why he does this, why he had to do this, other than the fact that simply he just kind of wanted to get away. And that's not enough to make sense, in my opinion. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a cool idea, and it's such a like an interesting when somebody like there's a lot of movies about like, oh, I stole this person's identity, and it's such a cool idea, and usually like there is some sort of motive, but the only thing that like the film hints and the character hints is that like, oh, I got tired, I had a wife and a kid and I just didn't want to do it anymore, and that's just like, it's really not worth it at that point. And then he's running around through Europe, and it seemed like a lot for such a very minuscule explanation. So I think that's also, it takes away from the film very much because when you write stories like this, in my opinion, you want your audience to be captivated by your character. You want them to root for you. You want them to understand, to empathize. Like when you're the only motive is I'm tired, like I don't care what happens to you.
No one roots for you, whether
you
you're
should
good or
probably get
bad.
caught
No
at
one
that
roots for
point.
you.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think that's a big problem with the movie, that you just don't care about this person.
It just felt very, even though certain things like, you know, the way the film looked and stuff like that was realistic, the characters didn't, especially Jack Nicholson's character. For a guy to just go, you know what, screw it, and just kind of drift away and do what he did without having any mental issues, mental breakdowns, without having any of that, doesn't make sense. I felt like there needed to be a bigger catalyst for him to do this.
Also, there was no plan. There didn't seem like there was a plan for any of this. Like, he kind of just, there was actually a really cool transition when he finds I guess you could say his friend, his buddy, dead. And it kind of goes back and forth with him, like, removing the body, or like just planning, like when he was switching the passports. And it kind of goes back and forth from their conversation to that. And I thought that was a really cool transition. But besides that scene, he has no plan. Like, there's just he's just running around Europe pretty much.
And it's not like he's getting lucky with things. It kind of not only does it not feel like there's a plan, it doesn't feel like there's a structure to the plot. There's no climax. There's no, you know, anything big. There's no hindrance. And even with Maria Schneider, and especially, like, I didn't like the fact that Maria Schneider was just a girl. She could have been more prevalent. She could have been, even in his eyes, she could have been used as some type of wedge or someone to foil his plan, kind of like what Purple Noon did. It just didn't handle anything realistically.
That's really true. That's a good way of putting things. Yeah, they didn't bother to name her. So, like...
It just kind of felt like, oh, hey, you know, you're done with your wife, you're done with your kid. Just go on with this pretty broad in Europe. And it's like, that's it? No, there's got to be more. Like,
I don't know.
And that
I feel bad because it just seems like she's sort of used as a plot tool in a way.
And there's no motive behind her. She goes chasing around this guy for what? For what?
Isn't she supposed to be like a student? Like, go to class, get your degree.
Build buildings. You want to be an architecture? Build buildings, girl. Don't waste your time with this fool. So I was really eager to talk about the story because, like how we did with 5 Against the House, I know exactly how this film should have been done. Okay, I know exactly what would have made this film fantastic, what I think could have made this film amazing. And I'm not just trying to toot my own horn here. I think this film had so much potential in this one detail that everyone skimmed over. And it's like, if you had really isolated this detail and made it the center of the film, you would have made an Oscar winner. You would have made at least an Oscar nomination. Ooh. And that is the fact. There's this fascinating moral dilemma. Do you have any idea what that is in this thing? Like, from just, if I say there's a fascinating moral dilemma, Savannah, what do you think it is in the film? No right or wrong answers, obviously.
Isn't he one of the characters supposed to be a gun runner? Is that what you're talking about?
So, yes.
Okay.
He takes over the identity of an arms dealer. He's a journalist covering the war that no one knows about. He's still selling guns. Meanwhile, the moral dilemma that should have been focused is the fact that Jack Nicholson's character was a journalist filming this war going on. And then he assumes the identity of an arms dealer that is funding the war.
They never do anything with that, though. You're right.
Never. That's supposed to be the plot of the film, and it doesn't feel like this. Do you know how excellently done this could have been if they had focused on this moral dilemma of knowing if this guy, supposedly this guy doesn't know much about the war. Meanwhile, he's a journalist, and we see footage of him interviewing people and talking to people who are part of this war. And if they had focused on that and made this internal struggle and conflict, to give something like to weigh on his conscience at the fact that he's now pretending to be an arms dealer and he cannot stop contributing to the war. I think that would have made the movie incredible if they had honed in on that detail and made that the center of the story.
That's a really good point, because and props to you for picking that up, because I'm going to be honest, like, they did nothing with that, and it kind of went in one ear out of the next for me, because it was just like, oh yeah, he's a gun runner, and do nothing with that information. They just say it like twice in the movie, and then it's just him and this girl running around Europe scot-free, like, it's fine.
And then to even add on to that, they should have made Maria Schneider's character a refugee from this war. That would have added the thing, that connection that was needed. That would have added, this intermix of, oh crap, there's a lot of drama going on, and he is that I think would have given this type of Purple Noon feel of this guy kind of being swallowed by this entire situation. Because you could have still kept the motive of him being careless and just going, I'm tired of my wife. And then it's like, oh crap, I'm an arms dealer in a war, and my current lover is a refugee from this war.
Ooh,
like, if that had been done,
rights, give it to Steph, because
Jack Nicholson owns it. Jackie boy, if you're listening to me.
Send it to Jack Nicholson, because Stephanie just made that movie 10 times better. So
thank you. But it just, I was biting my lip. I was like, come on. At the end of the film, I was like, please focus on the war. This could have been so good if it had shifted its attention off of Jack Nicholson just, tra-la-la-la-ing through Europe. And if it had focused on this moral dilemma, it would have been amazing. And also, if this story was made in the 70s, as much as I like Michaelangelo Antonioni's films, I think he's a little bit too slow paced for this. If you watch a lot of his films, they're very slow paced, not a lot of music. That's the thing I've noticed, unless you're watching Eclipse, when you're listening to Mina singing Eclipse for like an hour. Do you remember that in Eclipse?
Yes. But that's
like, oh my God, that's embedded in my mind forever.
But here's the thing, like, with those type of plots, you could do that. This is supposed to be like, and it really could have been. And, like, let's be honest, Purple Noon is a slower movie, but they do it right in terms of, like, the plot, the characters, like, everything that you're seeing, the climax. This movie had nothing. So I don't know why they gave him this movie. I think it should have been given to somebody else.
I think it was, I did read somewhere that Antonioni always read this. I think it was, he read it from the original writer, and he wanted to make it, and it took him a few years to make it.
It's a mistake that it was that slow. It was a mistake.
If this film was given to Coppola or William Friedkin, holy crap, this movie would live up to its potential if it was given to one of those two with the adjustments of the plot. Like,
well, it could be given to Miss Conti.
Well, give it to me today. I promise, Jack, because apparently I did read, I was shocked, because in order of compensation for missing out of another film, Jack Nicholson was just like, I want the rights to this film. So he owns the rights to this movie.
It's interesting. I wonder why he wanted it.
If anyone knows Jack Nicholson, please. My email is coffeewithconti@gmail.com. Slim chances, but I'm hopeful. Even Warner Brothers, if you want to buy it off of Jackie Nick, let me know. I'll be there. I'll be right there.
And yes, I've just taken on the role of her manager, if anybody wants to know. So
yeah, she's my producer. She's my associate. If anyone talks poorly to her, they will be fired.
I'm just gonna be, what is that? What's the word for it? Your consulate? That's not the word. What is it? Where,
like in Godfather?
I just give you like advice. I just stand by your side and listen what to the person says, and then I whisper in your ear. What is that?
I'll just call you my compadre, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I just follow you around, and then I give you like advice, and then you're like, okay.
Ew, what was that, Savanna?
Oh my God! You remember the French movie?
Oh, 2 or 3 things I know about her.
Yeah, that's what I remember from that movie, is the whispering.
It's just, to me, I was like, I stuck with the movie, even though I wanted to leave. I stuck with it because I was like, come on, Jack, Maria, Michaelangelo, Antonioni, give me something. And I didn't get it. And it sucks
hard.
because this had so much potential with the structure that it vaguely had. You could have built so much of it.
So like even like where it got interesting, like, okay, the first hour of the movie, I'm sorry, it was after the guy dies and he takes the identity, slow. And then Maria Schneider comes in and you're just like, oh, okay, cool, what was this? And then basically, I believe who starts to track him down? His wife?
His wife.
His wife. And so basically she starts to track down the man who he's pretending to be, and she starts to, oh, okay, and there's this, but again, it's the most nonchalant, like, I'm gonna find my husband's friend, I'm gonna go, like,
it
just
doesn't
nothing
even
is
seem
happening.
Like she loves him. It kind of just seems like she's like, I want to find him and tell him, like, in your face, like, I was right, like that type of like spitefulness. There was no, please find my husband,
affair,
please.
Right? Like,
I think she was having an affair with one of the other journalists that he worked with.
Yeah,
this film had so much potential. So much potential.
The scenery's gorgeous. Like that hotel they went to is so stunning.
They went to all the right locations. Pre-production killed it on this film. They went to all the right locations. I don't know why. I really liked Maria Schneider's outfits in the film. Like, she wore like this one Hawaiian shirt that I was like, yeah, pre-production, production, all that stuff was fantastic. Where it lacked was writing. At the end of the day, the biggest weight fell on writing. And because of that, I could see the average moviegoer not being able to appreciate this movie at all because it's slow. There's no real motive. It doesn't make sense at some points. And at the end of the day, you're not rooting for anyone or anything to happen.
And we could be honest, it gets boring. At certain parts, it does.
It gets boring. It does get boring.
So, do we want to talk about the ending? Because I have questions.
Yeah, you go talk about the ending. What specifically about the ending do you have questions about?
I don't understand the ending. I don't understand what happened.
He killed himself.
I think that's just I got that he killed himself, but I don't understand the whole thing with his wife, where he's just like, I don't know him. Did you catch that? Because I didn't understand that at all. Do you know what that meant?
I mean, it really, at the end of the day, it didn't make sense. You didn't lose someone you cared about. I could see that there is. I didn't understand
that she said, "Oh, I don't know him. That's her husband."
It would have made sense if there was a transformation. It could have been like, oh, a metaphorical type of, I don't know him. And then she realizes, like, the guy who he's looking at and stuff like that, it could have been like a realization, like, in that moment, she realized she didn't care about him. That could have been it. I don't think that worked. I don't think the fact that Jack Nicholson killed himself worked. I didn't care for the ending at all.
It was really confusing, and it was honestly a disappointment because if anything could have saved this movie, it was a better ending.
Like if I'm trying to think of how, if I had control, if I would have ended it, or what I think would have brought justice to the movie. I don't know. I think there would have been a whole different storyline where it would have had to been like, what I originally said earlier. And then in order for us to root, him doing bad by taking the identity, I think it would have had to been him, like, maybe stopping the arms deal with this militia. And then, the girl finds out she hates him, but then he stops the arm. They're in love, and then woo, ending. That could have been something. But at the end, like, with how the story was set, with how Michaelangelo Antonioni told this story, no ending could have made it better, sadly. It's so funny because we were just like, it's not a bad film. It's not a bad film. And here we are. We're like, the ending sucked. The middle sucked. The beginning 20 minutes was good.
I feel bad because, like, it's really not horrible. But, like, just once we break it down more into detail, like, there's just a lot of things that were confusing. The dialogue wasn't good. The ending was really, really bad. And unfortunately, like, not that we want to bash this film. There's very few things it did right.
The only really thing that did do right was the actual look of the film.
Yeah.
The actors that were picked, and that is it. I can't even say the music was good because I didn't hear a single tune. Which I don't think having no music is a bad thing. I just think because you have to do an adjustment when you use no music and you're making a film like this. When you have slower periods, even though it could be 2 minutes, it then feels like 20 minutes because you don't have anything to fill in the space. So I think using no music wouldn't have been the worst part if they had shortened it and condensed some of these scenes. Like, it's like, okay, cool. I didn't have to see Jack Nicholson wander for like a total of half an hour for this film. I mean, I can understand in terms of the director Antonioni. He's a big part of Italian neorealism, which shows all the little details and everything. But at the end of the day, all those little details didn't matter.
Right, exactly. So, all right, now that we've unintentionally torn this film apart, what score do you give it? Or do you want me to go first? Because I always ask you that. So it's up to you.
You know what? I feel because I know what it could be. But do I rate what it could be or what it is?
You have to rate what it is. Yeah.
A 6.
Oh, I was going to say 5. Now I feel bad, but...
No. It's okay. I say 6 just because I'm attached to the project. Because I'm waiting for someone one day, whether it's now, whether it's 20 years from now, to someone go, hey, remember that Michaelangelo Antonioni film you ripped apart on the internet? There you go. That's why, like, I've already formed a deeper connection with this film.
Okay.
If I didn't know, a brutal answer would have been like a 5.3, but what feels right, what my chakras and my everything feel is 6.
Unfortunately, I do have to give it a 5 for lack of plot, music, making sense, all of it. I have to give it a 5. And it makes me sad because, like I said, I do see the potential and it's a great story. And I think it could be told amazingly if it is in the right way. But I have to give it a 5 right now. 5 out of 10.
Yeah. Like I said, if you had given this film to Coppola or Friedkin, holy crap, this movie, Friedkin especially, this movie would be a freak of nature if it was given to Friedkin. But I think it had the potential. It just wasn't given to the right writer. Even if Antonioni directed it, I think if it was given to a different writer, it could have been a little bit something more. But at the end of the day, the movie already happened. It is what it is.
Yeah. That sucks. Sorry, guys.
Sorry. Well, it's still on the Criterion Channel if you'd like to see what we say. Other than that, I mean, I still enjoyed it because I did like the directing a lot. I like the picture. I like the scenery. And like I said, even though there wasn't a lot, there was still something very enjoyable about seeing Jack Nicholson and Maria Schneider on the screen together. I enjoyed that aspect a lot. And that is what continued for me to watch the movie and be like, okay, I want to see more. Because I did enjoy just them being together. There was certain energy, certain charm that they just had while they were together that I thoroughly enjoyed. But it did not live up to any of their potential.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are positive aspects about the film. If you like Jack Nicholson even if you like Maria Schneider, I think you should see it. The scenery itself, just for like everywhere they go in the movie is beautiful. So if you're into that, it was one of the reasons I did enjoy watching the movie is for the scenery. So if you are a film nerd like us, go watch the movie. Just
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Put it on your list so that way you can be like, oh, yeah, I saw it. You want to talk about it? So that's why I recommend. But for the average moviegoer, I feel like you guys are going to find this very boring for the average moviegoer. And I'm going to real quickly define what I mean by average moviegoer. I mean, like, you don't actively look at older films. You go for what's new. You enjoy what's new, and you like that.
And there's nothing wrong with that, of course.
Films. Yeah, no. I'm just saying, like, I don't see, like, if there was a giant poll of the world, most people would vote that this movie was not great.
Oh, yeah. And Yeah, I mean, if we could barely get through it, I don't see anybody like the average
So what's up
moviegoer.
with us? So we are going to be talking about something newer, something definitely different. We're going to be talking about Her next time you see us. So it's on Netflix. Go watch it before we start talking about it. Get ahead of the game. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think I've said what I had to said. Savanna, are you good?
I just burped. I'm sorry if you guys heard that, but I'm good.
All right. And as always, thank you, James, our homie, for supporting our coffee addiction. We love you and we appreciate you.
We do. We do.
And tune in next time for Purple Noon. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Yeah.